At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
It is the Josh Graham Show, coming at you live during the final round of the PGA Championship. We'll be providing you live updates from golf's second major of the year throughout today's program. But let's begin with the biggest headline of the day, why don't we? Aaron Rodgers has finally decided to return to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He agreed to a one-year deal this weekend. And in some ways, Rodgers and Pittsburgh are kind of perfect for each other because they both seem to be beneficiaries and victims at the same time of their own reputation and brand. Last year was a perfect example of this. Because of the lofty expectations associated with both A-Rod and Pittsburgh, the 25 season was somehow viewed as an unsuccessful season. Pittsburgh went 10-7. They won the AFC North. Almost definitionally, that is what success looks like in the NFL. But because the Ravens missed a kick in order for Pittsburgh to make the playoffs and win the division, and then the Steelers lost an uninspiring home playoff game. Oh, and by the way, they've had this lengthy run of not having a losing season in forever. There are many people, namely Steeler fans, that believe Mike Tomlin didn't actually step down. Mike Tomlin was actually secretly fired. He was fired because of the team not performing as they should. He was not. The Steelers actually feel like he did a good job, as evidenced by them hiring an experienced name in Mike McCarthy and viewing it as sustaining success, not looking to rebuild anything. By the way, this reputation being attached to the Steelers, it adds pressure to McCarthy, which isn't ideal, but at least Pittsburgh doesn't fire coaches, so there is job security that comes along with that. It's almost perfect that Rodgers is the Steelers quarterback because he's the victim of the same kind of thing. Rodgers had his best season in 5 years in 2025. He had his best QB rating in 5 years, 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 66% completion percentage, over 3,300 yards passing. Obviously had team success, but you wouldn't know that when you look at the discourse surrounding Aaron. Some of it's because the standard is set so high. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and even though he's 41, we just saw Tom Brady his productivity never really dropped off till the very end, and he played till 42. And also, let's just be honest about it, call a spade. Aaron Rodgers, he's been a bit of a controversial figure with some of the things he says politically and with social issues, this type of thing. So because of the standard attached to Aaron and partly non-football things, nobody seemed to acknowledge how good he was last year. Either it was ignored or he was bashed for non-football reasons. Just look at the reaction to him signing last night. Pittsburgh fans, some are acting. It's weird. There is a contingent of Steeler fans that would prefer Will Howard playing at quarterback over Aaron Rodgers, which, again, after last year is crazy talk. There's no other way to describe it. It's insane. So, that's a lot of being victimized by your perceptions and reputation and your brand. How is any of this a benefit? Well, the Steelers, they are completely flying under the radar this offseason. Talk to any coach. Do coaches want high expectations attached to their team? Exterior pressure being added going into a season? Of course not. They'd prefer for all the media types to ignore them or say that they're bad and you could use it as a chip. They have the third best odds to win the AFC North after winning it last year, winning 10 games. This is maybe more disrespectful. Their win total over-under, according to our friends at DraftKings, 8.5. That means in order to go under, it would have to be their first losing season in more than 2 decades, close to a quarter century. This is actually a gift to Mike McCarthy and to Aaron Rodgers because the bar is being set surprisingly low, at least by those outside of Pittsburgh. In terms of how Rodgers should do, well, the offense should be even better than what we saw. Rodgers getting to work with a familiar coach who he spent a lot of time with in Green Bay, more chemistry with many of the same guys he played with this past year, now going into year 2. They added Rico Dowdle. They added Michael Pittman. They've got weapons. So, in a way, the fact that the expectations were set so high to the point where last year was kind of viewed as a failure and people are saying, well, why is it even a big deal that he's coming back and this isn't that big of a story? It kind of helps in the bar being set low, given what we just presented to you, the odds to win the division, the odds to even win 9 games and have a winning season being as low as they are. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, beneficiaries. Aaron Rodgers, beneficiaries of and also victims of their reputation and of their brand. To talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, we have Brooke Pryor of ESPN that's going to join us on today's program. She'll be dropping by next hour. ESPN's Pittsburgh Steelers. What are you doing, Will? Will Dalton, the producer of the show.
Hey, everybody! It's time for some golf! It's time for golf! How are we not talking about the PGA Championship yet? How? What's happening over here?
You couldn't wait until you were introduced. I thought Brooke Pryor related to the Steelers topic.
Thank you, Art. It's too important. These types of things can't wait. It can't. Because Alex Smalley, who was the story of the day yesterday, he just took a double bogey, and so now this thing's kind of blown wide open. You got Matty Schmid, currently at the top of the leaderboard, at 6 under par. Fun fact about him, he's playing in just his 5th major. First PGA Championship. And he's at the top of the leaderboard on a Sunday.
Do you want an even more fun fact about Alex Smalley?
I love fun facts. Well, he's a Duke Blue Devil. For those that care.
Where are you talking to us from?
Greensboro, North Carolina.
Greensboro, North Carolina. Uh-huh. Well, he is a member of Sedgefield Country Club, located Greensboro, North Carolina. So how about that? Alex Smalley, double bogey, and Matty Schmidt is leading the way in what's been a slog of a major championship. Probably the best way to describe it. Make sure, if you haven't already, you're subscribed to our YouTube channel and to our podcast feed so you can see Will Dalton when he rudely interrupts. He's got his weekend t-shirt on. Where's that beer skate, by the way? Do you still have... Weeks ago, you told us you'd bring that Carolina Hurricanes beer skate, and you still haven't had it.
So I do a show Monday through Friday locally here in North Carolina, and it's actually in my studio. Like, it's in my background. Nice little prop. So
I see where your priorities are.
But I have it. I have it.
Okay. And we have unusual questions today. I'm sure you have imaging for that ready to go as well.
How about them Steelers? How about it? Brooke Pryor, what else?
Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, Westwood One Sports Night. That is fun when we play unusual questions, but, Will Dalton, just one of these days he'll do his job. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, search Westwood One Sports Night as well. It's a big day in the NBA. SGA, according to Shams of ESPN, second straight MVP win over Victor Wembanyama. Maybe one of these years an American will win the MVP award again. It's been a long time since that's the case. You have Game 7 tonight, Pistons-Cavaliers. In terms of trying to figure this game out, you can't trust either Pittsburgh. You can't trust either the Pistons or the Cavs to win in Game 7. Thus, it's impossible to know what's going to happen tonight. There is wisdom. This doesn't happen a lot in sports talk. Words that you're coached not to say in a chair such as this one. I don't know. You got to know, and you must know everything and have a strong opinion and defend it to the death. Going to admittedly do bad sports talk here. I don't know. There's wisdom in that. In fact, anybody who claims to have a good read on this, I'll call them a liar. That's what I'll do. Because just look what's happened in this series. Detroit should have wrapped this up. They're a 1 seed. They went up 2-0, then lost 3 in a row, which included being up 9 points with 3 minutes to go in Game 5 at home. And you blow that game, lose it in overtime. Then you got the choking Cavs. They obviously haven't been much better. They lost. They gave away 2 games in Toronto last series, including one where the Raptors didn't even have Brandon Ingram. And then you have a chance to close out, and everybody says, well, Josh, Cleveland was on the road in those games. Different team at home. They just got killed in Game 6 on their home court by 20+. That game was never close. And because of how these two teams have been exposed, does it really matter ultimately who wins this game? The Knicks, they clinched their sweep against the Sixers exactly a week ago. By the time the Eastern Final begins on Tuesday, they will have been chilling for 9 days. So New York, they're going to win against either of these teams. But to go a step further, the Eastern champ is going to be gigantic underdogs against either Oklahoma City or San Antonio. That Western Finals rightfully should be the primary focus this week. Probably should be viewed as a pseudo-NBA Finals. Now, to be clear, getting to the NBA Finals versus the Conference Finals, it is an achievement. It's something that you should be happy about for all of these Eastern teams, especially for Detroit, which hasn't been to the Finals in 21 years, the Knicks, who haven't been to the Finals this century. But in terms of the drama that's going to happen when you get there, probably not going to be a lot of it. If you're forcing yours truly to make a prediction tonight, in attempting to do so, we're going to lean on the Pistons. Why? Well, because Cleveland has James Harden and Donovan Mitchell on their teams. Their Game 7, the Game 7 resume for James Harden, as bad as any MVP in history. Donovan Mitchell has played for 10 years pretty much, almost exclusively on good teams, and he hasn't been to the conference finals in his career. Mitchell was 6 of 20, held under 20 points in Game 6. James Harden, 8 turnovers for the Beard in Game 6. Twice as many turnovers than assists, which is nuts. Plus, there has to be some value in playing at home. The Pistons, the 1 seed, they're at home in this game. While it's hard to trust them, it's easier to believe they won't lose consecutive games than James Harden and Donovan Mitchell going on the road and clinching a berth to the conference finals. This segment, sponsored by our friends at Progressive Commercial Insurance. They protect small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com. Also a shout out to our guy, Art Martinez, who really is responsible for the music that is cutting me off throughout the segment. Not so much Will Dalton. And yes, he even gets a laugh track. It's outstanding work by our guy Art and Will Dalton. However, and wherever you're listening or watching on YouTube, you can watch us. In addition to just listening to us, go to Westwood One Sports Night on YouTube or at Josh Graham Show on my X page. Moving this thing along, though, yet another conference commissioner has endorsed a 24-team college football playoff format. But what exactly is the real case for it, and what's at stake here for the sport? That's next on the Josh Graham Show.
The NFL season opens across the globe. Rams, Niners in Australia. Then a Super Bowl rematch. Seahawks and Patriots. Catch every primetime, international, and holiday game on the Westwood One Sports app. From your home for the NFL, the playoffs, and Super Bowl 61. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
A lot of quarterback news in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers back with the Steelers. But the QB Netflix show, the quarterback series, announced their new roster of QBs that we'll be following. Well, it's from last season, but you will get to see it in July on Netflix. It'll be Joe Flacco, it'll be Baker Mayfield, Cam Ward, and Jaden Daniels that we follow. But that also presents this question. If you're guaranteed the quarterback of choice will say yes, which player would you most like to see Netflix follow for a full year in 2026? Might it even be Aaron Rodgers, given that we know he's going to be playing in 2026? 310-840-4910. Tell us which quarterback would you want most for Netflix to follow around and have some inside access to behind the scenes. Before we get to that, though, the college football playoff is a gigantic topic this week, but really all spring long. And there is some steam in favor of expanding to a 24-team field, doubling the 12-team field that was just introduced in the last couple of years, expanding from 4 to 12. And you should know that the perceptions that are fueling CFP expansion, the 24-team playoff, they just aren't real. The perception that's fueling these expansion talks, they aren't real. It's a mirage. We'll show you, though. The most popular argument that's being made by conference commissioners, by university presidents, power brokers in college sports, is just 9% of FBS schools. 9% of them participate in the playoff each year. And that's not enough access, is what they're going to say. And in making this argument with a straight face, you'll hear conference commissioners compare that figure to professional sports. They'll say, and Jim Phillips even said this week from the ACC, 40% of the NFL makes the playoffs each year, 14 of the 32. More than half the NHL or the NBA makes it, 16 of 32, 16 of 30. So college football's only at 9%. We need to bump that number up. In fact, here was ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips conference meetings in Amelia Island, Florida, saying that if we don't expand the playoff, schools, they're just not going to try anymore. They're going to be discouraged. They're not going to be incentivized to invest. Here was Jim Phillips this week.
If you're going to ask presidents and chancellors and boards to continue to invest in their football programs, it's really important that they have hope, that they have an opportunity at the beginning of the season to get into the playoff. And I think it can also lead to better non-conference scheduling, that you can afford a loss or two, or maybe even three.
Yeah. It's okay. We're going to have all these amazing games. It's okay to lose 2, maybe 3 games. But if you don't let these teams in, they're not, what's the incentive for them to spend with the numbers so small? Now, here's the obvious problem with this argument. 9% of FBS schools. It's not enough compared to the NFL. Nearly half of the 130 FBS schools are in mid-major. So comparing Akron or my alma mater, East Carolina, to NFL franchises or NBA or NHL teams, that's disingenuous. And it's kind of absurd if we're being honest about it. Oh, well, we need to include them in the number of teams we should include in the playoff, as if they have a shot at potentially winning a national championship, which mid-majors don't. And we know that, and we've largely accepted it. The real debate, this is the heart of the debate after this past season, where 12-team field, and then universally, unanimously, you had the leaders in college sports say, we want to stay at 12. Didn't take it out to expand to 14 or to 16. The real debate is ultimately whether or not deserving national championship level teams are being left out of the 12-team model, which brings us to Notre Dame last year. The Irish is now being held up as a primary argument tool by expansion supporters. And here's the argument in a nutshell. They were the first team left out of the playoff this past year in favor of the Miami Hurricanes. We saw how close their head-to-head matchup was during the regular season. And given the Canes ended up in the national title game, leaving out Notre Dame's a mistake because they could have made some noise in the playoff. And here is Jim Phillips again, right here, making this case.
When you're leaving national championship contending teams and university schools out of the playoff, you don't have the right number. We lived through it. We suffered through it with Florida State when the field was 4. And I know other schools have suffered for it. And I've said this, very directly. Notre Dame was a CFP-worthy team this year. They just were.
Was tracking with what Jim Phillips said there until he lumped 2023 Florida State's exclusion into this. In case you have forgotten, Florida State, what happened to them was an injustice. 14 playoff, they were left out, unbeaten conference champion in a power conference, in favor of putting in a flawed Alabama team that lost a home game that year, didn't even play in their conference championship. And the reason they did it is because projection, no Jordan Travis, who was injured, their quarterback. We don't need to relitigate the whole thing.
We lived through it. We suffered through it with Florida State.
FSU was unbeaten. Notre Dame had 2 losses, and they happened to be the 2 games that they tried to play really tough competition. Also, the 12-team format was brought in to fix what Florida State's exclusion exposed. Does anybody believe in a 12-team model that Florida State, unbeaten conference champions, getting left out? Of course not. Thus, they aren't really relevant to the 24-team debate, the 24-team argument that Phillips is trying to make here. The truth about Notre Dame is that their exclusion from the playoff actually validated the 12-team field.
Notre Dame was a CFP-worthy team this year.
It didn't expose the 12-team format. It gave the 12-team format credibility. It's the opposite of what Phillips is arguing. They were unquestionably talented enough to get in, but they weren't deserving enough to get in. Just like Bama the first year of the 12-team model. You had 3 losses. You had a double-digit loss to Oklahoma. Had a couple of double-digit losses, if memory serves. We should want making the college football playoff to feel like an achievement. This is really the problem with college sports leaders right now. The problem, they think, let's expand to 76 in the NCAA tournament. Why? Because there are good teams out there. Are you leaving out national championship teams? No, you are not. Are you leaving out deserving teams? Teams that deserved to be in the field based on what they did on the basketball court? In other words, did they not have the opportunity to get in? Are you leaving out juggernaut teams? You're not when you expand to 76. So just because teams are talented, you got to do it on the court. That's why you actually play the regular season. Otherwise, why can't we just pick the playoff teams in the preseason? Hey, let's see how many 5-stars or who has the best transfer class. And then we'll just pick that team because we think that team's talented enough. We think that team's good. It doesn't really matter what they do in the field. So it's the opposite, really, of what Phillips is arguing. He actually made the argument in favor of keeping the 12-team format, not expanding, not doubling the field. In terms of what's at stake, ultimately, expanding the 24 games, it could be existential for college football. That's not, by the way, a large... That isn't an overstatement. That isn't supposed to be, you're being salacious. You're being sensationalist. The reason why it's existential for college football is because the regular season is what makes college football special. It's what makes it different than the NFL. And that's okay. We want to aspire to be like the NFL. No, some people like the different flavor. Some people don't want Saturday and Sunday to be the same flavor. And you could still like both sports the same, or like them the same and like their differences. Like that they're different. Here's what we mean. In almost every sport out there, every other sport other than college football, the playoffs are the peak of the season. The Super Bowl is the most watched TV event every year in America. The World Series captivates in baseball in a way no other point of the baseball season does. The NCAA tournament, obviously in college basketball, that's the crown jewel of the sport. The NBA Finals, you honestly think the regular season in the NBA is what we look forward to? No, it's the playoffs, it's the NBA Finals. College football is best during Saturdays in the fall, not Monday nights in January. What makes college football great is Ohio State, Michigan on campus, not Penn State, Georgia in a sterilized neutral site NFL stadium. If you go to 24 games, this gets talked about. It's a talking point, as they say. There will be teams benching starters the final week of the season because they're comfortable with their playoff security, if you have that many teams. Now, you have folks going to the extreme example. You're going to have players being benched in Ohio State versus Michigan. Now, I still think that game's probably going to matter. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe there is a case you might bench some players if it's not significant, but let's not use an example where we don't know that for sure. But let's say, hypothetically, Miami's supposed to be really good this year. Let's say Miami's locked into the field in the college football playoff, and their last game of the year is against, I don't know, Will Dalton's a North Carolina Tar Heel fan. Let's say they're playing North Carolina in the ACC. And North Carolina is ranked somewhere around 21st, 20th. So they have to win the game to get in. And Miami is a 2 seed, a projected 3 seed right now. Comfortably in, comfortably going to be in hosting a CFP game in round one. If they look ahead and see, we got 5 straight games ahead of us to win a national championship, of course they're going to bench their starters. Of course they would. And is that what you want with college football? We see it in the NFL, and we're fine with it because of how what we love about the NFL is different than what we love from college football. But of course they would, and I don't think that's a good thing. You need to protect your crown jewel, and the crown jewel is Saturdays in the fall. College football purists like myself, we actually view the regular season different than the playoff itself. Like, to me, I think Oregon fans should view the 2024 season as if they won a national championship because they were the best team in college football. Saturdays in the fall, and they won a Big Ten title. They went unbeaten, and they should celebrate that, regardless of what happened in the wonky Mickey Mouse college football playoff that was just constructed to give you 12 teams. I think that you should celebrate what you do in the fall and how you perform versus when you get to the win or go home CFP, the 12-team playoff, or what's being discussed here, a 24-team field. Anyway, the perceptions that are fueling the 24-team arguments, they aren't real. They aren't real. They're just that. They're just perception. 310-840-4910 if you want in. The question we're asking, if you're guaranteed that a quarterback's going to say yes, which player would you like to see Netflix follow the way that they followed Joe Flacco and Baker Mayfield and Cam Ward and Jaden Daniels this past year? Will Dalton, the quarterback storylines in the NFL, they're endless. That's terrific news for Netflix if they continue to do this series. If you want polarizing, look no further than the AFC North. You could go with Aaron Rodgers. You could go with Lamar Jackson. He makes people feel a certain way. You could go with your boy Joe Burrow, who actually was already featured on the show, if memory serves. He's a top 4 quarterback in the sport. The right answer probably is just doing like a reality show on one set of quarterbacks, and it's the entire Browns QB room. Just feature the Browns QB room the entire season. Follow Shador, Deshaun Watson, follow around Dylan Gabriel, Taylor Green, that entire group. That probably would be the right answer, but if you had to pick one QB to follow around Will Dalton, who would it be?
Just given the storyline this year, I think I'd follow Kyler Murray.
Really?
Yeah. Either him or Tua in Atlanta. I'd like to watch what's going. Well, I mean, it's an interesting story.
They're off the wall. I just put together a long list, just rattled off the entire AFC North. But then I was like, there's Caleb Williams in Chicago, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, maybe the 2 best QBs, Matt Stafford and Drake May from last year at least, Josh Allen, maybe the Super Bowl champion Sam Darnold. I probably would have rattled off 15 names before I got to either of the ones you just said.
Well, I just think it's going to be interesting to watch, as Kyler tries to, make it happen in Minnesota, try to keep his job. Tua, he's going to be battling with Penix for a job. I want to watch that up close.
You're a strange bird, but you love the Shield. Will Dalton, 310-840-4910. In addition to getting to your submissions, we'll hand out bets for basketball and, yes, even hockey in today's Grams Gambling. That's next on The Josh Graham Show.
Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker is heading back to Seattle, now wearing Chiefs red. Week 7, Sunday night. You can hear it on Westwood One Sports. The schedule is out, and we're breaking down the biggest matchups. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Welcome back into the Josh Graham Show. If you're guaranteed the quarterback says yes, which player would you most like to see Netflix follow around for a full year the way they followed Baker Mayfield, Jaden Daniels, Joe Flacco this past season, Cam Ward as well from the Titans? 310-840-4910 if you want in. Let's hand out some winners. It's time for Graham's grades. Or Graham's game.
It's time for Graham's Gambling. Let's make some money.
That was a first, Will Dalton. You're giggling. You're snickering over there. I'm very distracted right now because the Baltimore Orioles just won, wrapping it up, 7-3 win over the Nats. Watching golf at the moment, too. We'll get to the PGA Championship momentarily. But Graham's Gambling. This is the segment where we hand out some winners. I can't, in good conscience, Will, pull the trigger on Cavs plus 4.5. And there's no way it would be wise to lay points in this series with Detroit. Doesn't mean that Detroit's not going to win by more than 4.5. Just means that you shouldn't trust it in any way. And if you value your finances, if you value your mentals, and as Marshawn Lynch once said very philosophically, you stay away from this game. It's a stay away. We're not touching it. You can have it. We are taking the Montreal Canadiens to win Game 7. Minus 105 odds. We're taking Montreal to win tomorrow night. They have better goaltending with Dobish. Overall, they're the better team. Yes, it's in Buffalo, but home ice doesn't really matter in the playoffs. Yeah, you get last change, but ask any coach that they're not really all that worried about the crowd and how that might impact officiating or anything. They have the better value. They have the better odds. And that's why you take them. Take the better team with the better odds. Now, with that said, as a Carolina Hurricanes fan, there are two teams that I'm emotionally attached to. The Orioles, which is why I was distracted a minute ago, the Carolina Hurricanes. Those are the teams that I love most, and I will tell you, I will be honest about my biases. From a Hurricanes perspective, not betting with the brain here, not talking about the brain, but the heart, I'd love it for Buffalo to win Game 7. Montreal scares me more than Buffalo does, namely because of the goaltending. Also, shades of 20 years ago, the Carolina Hurricanes, the last time they went to the Stanley Cup Final, 8 years in a row, they've made the playoffs and won playoff series, but lost in the Eastern Conference Finals 3 times. The last time they went to the Stanley Cup Finals, they beat, yes, the Buffalo Sabres in 7 in 2006, 20 years ago. So it would kind of be a full circle moment if that were the opponent. But Montreal is the bet, minus 105, courtesy of our friends at DraftKings. In case you don't know, we're all over the San Antonio Spurs in the Western Conference Finals. The WCF begins tomorrow. Even more so today, Will Dalton, SGA, won his second straight MVP award. That's just going to add more fuel for Victor Wembanyama. So you take it. Spurs plus 6.5 Game 1. Jalen Williams being worked back in. OKC, rusty, more than a week off. We like San Antonio plus 1.5 games in the series spread. That's only minus 115. San Antonio to win the series. We'll sprinkle that at plus 220. Full disclosure, we're not new to this party. I bet San Antonio a long time ago at 14-1 to win the NBA title. But there you have it. All those San Antonio bets and Montreal minus 105 to win Game 7 on Monday night. Not touching Detroit's Cleveland Game 7 later tonight. Will Dalton, can you name the last American MVP in the NBA?
Was it James Harden?
That is correct.
Okay.
James Harden.
I didn't know if that was too long ago.
8 years ago. Because since then, Giannis, twice. Jokic, twice. That weird Embiid win. And then Jokic won it actually a third time. Forgot about that. SGA the last 2 years. Your MVP. So James Harden was the last one 9 years ago. And that was a run that American athletes had won that MVP award. Like if you go throughout history of the MVP, like the only examples that you're going to find of non-American players winning the award ever, it's Hakeem Olajuwon, he's from Nigeria, and then Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki. That's the list. Nash twice with Canada, and then German Dirk Nowitzki, and I believe that happened consecutively too. 3 straight years that you had foreign winners, but prior to this run of 8 straight going to non-American players, you only saw 4 instances in the history of the NBA that the MVP award was handed out to a non-American. Looking at the sports slate this weekend, largely, we'll see how the PGA finishes up at Aronimink in Pennsylvania. But largely, this sports weekend, is it fair to say it's been a dud? Like this sports weekend. Like what were we most looking forward to? Orioles-Nats, where the Orioles lost 2 out of 3. That's probably it, right? But no. Rousey-Carano. 17-second fight.
What fight?
Hey, dear Netflix, stop with the old-timer payday fights. Stop it with, oh, it's Mike Tyson against Jake Paul or whatever Paul brother fought Tom. I think it was Jake. I don't know the difference between the two. I'm going to be honest. I'm the oldest mid-30s guy you'll ever talk to.
It's true.
You had the Holyfield-Tyson PR stunt where neither of them really wanted the fight. You did it. Right? Stop it. Just stop it. And then the PGA Championship. It's been a slog. I'm sorry. I don't want Birdie Fest. I don't want 17, 20 under winning a major, but I don't want 6 under either. 6 under on the back 9 of a major? The golf folks are going to say you're wrong on this, mostly because they suck at golf, so they like seeing the world's best suck as well, struggling, laboring out there on the course. But that's not what I want to see. I don't want to see Matty Schmid, winning a major championship with a 6 under par winner. Just like I didn't want to see that guy who won the U.S. Open. What's his name? Spawn. J.J. Spawn. Oh, he won it on an exciting putt. That's great. What did he win? 1 under par? Won that major championship? Sorry, pass me on that. Miss me on it. It's been a slog. 310-840-4910. Let's go to Cheryl, who's in Syracuse. Cheryl, our question of the hour, the Netflix QB series. We're going to see Jaden Daniels and Baker Mayfield, Joe Flacco, Cam Ward followed around from this past season. If you're guaranteed every quarterback would say yes to you, which quarterback do you choose to have followed around for a year?
Well, there's no question it would be Josh Allen. Because not only is he a great quarterback, but he's a lot of fun. He has great personality, and I think he'd be fun to follow. He's entertaining.
Now, can I add one disclaimer or add one additional piece? Am I guaranteed to get Haley Steinfeld content as well? Like, if I get Josh Allen, does that mean there's some Haley Steinfeld appearances too?
I'll do the best I can.
Okay, thank you. Please work on that and get back to me on it, Cheryl. It's good to hear from you. Appreciate you calling us from Syracuse. Will Dalton, I like that combo. It's one I hadn't considered until Cheryl brought it up. If I also get Haley Steinfeld, because if you watch the QB series, the best stuff is how Patrick Mahomes is engaging with his wife, Brittany, when they're building their house, or Kirk Cousins with his wife losing a playoff game, reading their kids to bed, that type of stuff. I love that stuff. So if I get Haley Steinfeld, I think that's a pretty strong contender. It's a great quarterback, And Buffalo's interesting, and you have the new stadium, so we get to maybe look at that a little bit too. I think it's a really strong choice by Cheryl.
Give me Justin Herbert. Give me Justin Herbert.
Madison Beer over Haley Steinfeld? Is that the reason?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't know anything else. What's interesting about Madison Beer other than how Madison Beer looks? Haley Steinfeld was in Sinners.
I mean, Madison Beer's an artist in her own right. She's a musician. She's a singer.
Yeah. Name a Madison Beer song.
Yes, Baby.
Oh, my God.
Let's see. Lover Girl's the one that just came out.
It would have been better if you said, I don't know. It would have been a better answer
asked me
for you.
I have cred.
I don't know if that's the cred you want, frankly. Oh, I
like
could
some of her
rattle off
music.
my favorite Madison Beer songs. Wow.
Well, that means I'm
Hold
a real
my
fan.
beer. Dude, if you're a Madison Beer fan, you probably don't like beer. And you probably need to... Anyway, we'll move this thing along. During an election year, one power conference in college sports has created an unlikely coalition. And that's next on The Josh Graham Show.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
The question that we've been asking, related to the Netflix show Quarterback, where we'll see Joe Flacco, Cam Ward, Baker Mayfield, and forgetting somebody, Jaden Daniels followed around from this past season. Which quarterback would you most want to see followed for the 2026 season? It's been an adventure so far where we learned from Will Dalton he'd like to follow Justin Herbert around because he likes Madison Beer. I was today years old when I learned that Madison Beer, in addition to being an influencer, a really attractive girlfriend of an NFL quarterback, is also a musician as well. Will Dalton apparently knows her entire discography. But apparently Art, who's taking your calls at 310-840-4910, he has an answer to the question as well. Art, what's your choice?
There was something in the air that night.
Yeah.
The stars were bright.
Who is it? Fernando!
They were shining
Yeah.
for you and me, for liberty.
Top tier
Fernando.
ABBA song. That is there with Dancing Queen.
Oh, yeah.
Often getting slept on, right? We know about Dancing Queen. We know about Mamma Mia. Fernando. It's in the mix. Fernando Mendoza, a worthy choice as well. What say you? 310-840-4910. Brooke Pryor is ESPN's Pittsburgh Steelers reporter, going to join us in 20 minutes to break down what exactly led us now to Aaron Rodgers deciding to return to the Steelers for a second season, his age 42 season. But getting back to college football playoff expansion, the Big Ten has, in an election year, built a coalition. Isn't that a word you love hearing in politics? Oh, he's building a coalition. The Big Ten is doing this in college sports, and the coalition they're building is one that supports the 2014 college football playoff. Remember last summer when the Big Ten was mocked for this proposal? 24? It was just 4 a few years ago, and now he tripled that number at 12, and you want to double it already? LOL. Now, that's the popular position among college sports leaders. Notre Dame wants it. The Big 12 endorses the model. The ACC. It almost seems as if the Big Ten's position earned respect as the conference itself became the most dominant force in college sports. Football champion 3 straight years. Men's and women's basketball champions as well. All coming from the Big Ten Conference. Maybe some of this is NCAA tournament related. they'll eat a 76-team tournament. Maybe we can get away with the biggest possible field being pitched, 24 teams. Obviously, the Big Ten's TV partner, Fox, wants to see expansion to 24 because that would give them access to playoff inventory that right now they don't have. ESPN exclusively owns CFP rights until 2032 under the 12-team model, just like they owned it under the 14 model. And given that TV money is what makes college sports go round, of course, the Big Ten and Fox, they're going to be in lockstep on this issue. This is what made ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips' comments this week all the more fascinating. The ACC's TV partner is ESPN. And yet, Jim Phillips endorsed the 2014 model at league meetings this week. This is in direct opposition to what ESPN wants. ESPN, which quite literally is the hand that feeds the ACC schools. This goes in stark contradiction to what they want. Phillips knows this because he completely gave away the game on all this when asked specifically about ESPN in the context of the playoff this week.
ESPN's been pretty clear with all of us that they'd like it to stay at 12, maybe 14, but no higher than 16. And so that is, that's important. They're our partner. They're our partner with the CFP. Obviously, they're our full partner here as it relates to the ACC. And so we'll continue to talk with them as it relates to the CFP piece of it.
So why is Jim Phillips saying this out loud? He knows ESPN's against this. He knows that's going to be a headline. Why is he doing this? Why is he in favor of it? Well, Jim Phillips knows that a 2014 playoff with ideally 3 automatic bids going to the ACC, it could help his conference stay together beyond 2030. Because they did give concessions to Florida State and Clemson, the lawsuits that were settled at about this time last year, did give concessions to them that would make it feasible for a potential exodus. Maybe not nuking the conference the way that the Pac-12 eventually ceased to exist, but dramatically changing college sports again. That somewhere around 2030 is where that becomes a possibility again, unless Jim Phillips gives those schools reasons to want to stay. And it might make staying in the ACC more appealing if you get 3 automatic bids in a 24-team format. It might make more sense for Florida State and Clemson's path to winning a championship, staying in the ACC, having the 24-team playoff there. So this seems like an argument for survival for the ACC, which obviously, if that is what you believe, would matter more to you than even making your TV partner happy. Now, despite the groundswell of support for 24 from Notre Dame, the Big 12, and now the ACC, despite that groundswell of support, it doesn't really matter if the SEC isn't on board. Given how the autonomy structure now works with how you get things passed in college sports, the Big Ten and the SEC have the most power. And if the Big Ten and the SEC wanted to unilaterally make a move, if both were in agreement, they could do it. But if one of the two was not in agreement, that becomes a lot more difficult. And you need the SEC to help you get this thing done anytime soon, if that is in fact where we're headed, 24 teams. The SEC is ESPN's golden cow, and vice versa. And thus, they, like the Big Ten and Fox, they are in lockstep. The SEC also has one big supporter on its side, college football fans. They don't want to see the season get longer. They certainly don't want this field to be doubled. They don't want the college football regular season to become a farce. So while expansion does feel inevitable, but beyond 2026, it does feel inevitable. It is foolish to assume that 24 teams is inevitable, especially when you have half-measure options available, like 14 or 16 to go to, likely 16 between those two. But it's obvious there is a strong push from the Big Ten, Big Ten's leading the way, a coalition, if you will, being built around this specific model, the 2014 playoff. This segment is sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance. They protect small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com. Here's another way to ask the question about the quarterback Netflix show that's debuting in July. Rather than looking at who you might want to follow this next season, how about what we have? Who are you most interested to follow between Cam Ward of the Titans, Joe Flacco, whose season started with Cleveland but then ended up in Cincinnati, going from one AFC North team to another, Baker Mayfield, the Bucs, their 4-year run as NFC South champs coming to an end. Shout out to the Carolina Panthers. Jaden Daniels, his injury-riddled sophomore campaign following an NFC Championship appearance as a rookie. Which of those four most interest Will Dalton?
It's so difficult because Cam Ward's fascinating to me because, you know, like he had a really bad, I mean, his team had a really bad season last year. And so I'd
Cam
like to
wasn't
see
that
kind of
great
the
either.
No, but you know, you can only do so much with what you had over there. I think the answer for me is Baker. Because I mean Baker's such a great personality, always has been.
I agree.
And you know, shout out to the Panthers as you mentioned.
He wears his
Wanna see
emotions
that
on
up close.
on his sleeve. He's the biggest star of the bunch. He's also just really entertaining, and
Yeah.
that'll be fun. Cam is a sleeper because he has an amazing story to becoming the number one pick. Middle of nowhere, then goes to Washington State, then to Miami, and he's also this Texas country boy, loves to fish, probably loves the hunt too. So you'll get some of that as well. But there are, by the way, there are some starting to believe, Will, that having Netflix follow your quarterback is bad luck. There are some trying to suggest that this might be the new Madden curse. In 2024, Kirk Cousins, Joe Burrow, and Jared Goff were followed. Cousins that year benched in favor of, who would that have been? Oh, Michael Penix during that season. Then Joe Burrow missed the playoffs despite being healthy. He wasn't hurt that year. It was one of the few seasons he didn't get hurt. And then you had Jared Goff, who went 15-2, but lost his first home playoff game. And this is after you blew that lead in the NFC Championship. So do you buy the idea that this might be the new Madden curse? No, keep Netflix away.
Nah, I don't think we've got enough of a track record yet for this to be a Madden curse type thing. I mean, I get the scenarios you just laid out, but Jared Goff is still really good. Joe Burrow is still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Kirk was already close to being washed, so I don't know if I think it's a Madden curse just yet. I mean, if Jaden Daniels gets hurt again, then you might be on to something, but we'll see.
The only issue with the theory is that the first season of the show, they followed Mahomes when he won the Super Bowl.
See? There you go.
That might be an issue when you have 3 seasons and that's part of the sample size. West Coast writes in, wishing Josh's Hurricanes all the best in the next round. Let's go Stanky. That would be Logan Stankoven, who's been on fire in these playoffs. A shout out to Art from Big, I don't know if I can read that one on air, You can dance. The worst ABBA impression you'll ever hear on National Sports Talk. Shout out to those who are watching in addition to listening. Westwood One Sports Night on YouTube. You can find the podcast as well at that title, Westwood One Sports Night, on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. However, and wherever you choose to listen or watch, we greatly appreciate that. 300 markets across the country, Westwood One Sports, and we have so much that's going on. But the biggest headline of the day, Aaron Rodgers is returning to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We learned that late last night. So behind the scenes, what was really happening between the Steelers and Rodgers prior to reaching this agreement? We'll ask ESPN's Steelers reporter Brooke Pryor when she joins us next on The Josh Graham Show.
The two best teams, the two best players, the matchup we've waited for all season. Spurs, Thunder, Wemby versus SGA. Can San Antonio take down the defending champs? We break it all down on the road to the finals. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Steelers.
Do Steeler fans claim Here We Go as their anthem more than Renegade? That might be a good place to start with ESPN's Brooke Pryor, who joins us, Steelers reporter who the long national nightmare's over. Aaron Rodgers finally signed with the Steelers last night. But Renegade versus Here We Go, how do Steeler fans feel about it, Brooke?
Like how I want to say it's like, you know, UNC fans with Petey Pablo raise up and also the alma mater. You know, both can exist. We can claim both.
See, I like the North Carolina reference because me and Will Dalton, who produces this show, we are based in your old stomping grounds. I'm in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Will Dalton is in Greensboro right now, while Art is calling you from Los Angeles. We're all over the map. Brooke Pryor is joining us here, the Steelers reporter. I like that answer. You can have the alma mater and you can have the fight song, and I guess that's kind of the mix for the Steelers. Okay, getting to the timeline. 2 weeks ago, there was the report that Aaron would be in Pittsburgh to sign. Then GM Omar Khan, on our network actually, he refutes that. And then this week, we see Aaron Rodgers ordering some ice cream with his guys. And then finally, voila, an agreement. What has most interested you about the timeline of all this?
I mean, I think that I'm very interested to see when we talk to Aaron Rodgers. OTAs start tomorrow, the next phase of them. Rodgers is expected to be there from, reports from Adam Schefter. All the insiders are saying he's going to be in the building. I don't know if that means we'll talk to him tomorrow or if it won't be until Wednesday. So at that point, then we'll ask him how long he's been in town. I don't think he just arrived Friday night. That's when he was seen getting ice cream. But I said this a week ago when there were, the reports that maybe Aaron Rodgers is coming to Pittsburgh. He's going to sign. Maybe he's here, all these things. Aaron Rodgers is like Taylor Swift. You're only going to see him when he wants you to see him. And I think it was very intentional that he's at Cool Cones in North Park on Friday night with Pat Freiermuth and Ben Skoranek and Mason Rudolph. That's a very recognizable group of people. Somebody was going to see them and take a picture and put that out there. So he could have been here starting a week and a half ago when the first report surfaced that he was going to be in town. But if he didn't want you to see him, you weren't going to see him because that's how Aaron Rodgers works. He's going to do things on his own time, in his own way, and there's nothing anybody can do about it.
How do you read the Steelers' approach to quarterback this offseason now that it's a four-man quarterback room?
Well, Mike McCarthy has never had four quarterbacks on the active roster going into week one at any point in his career. And that's, 18 seasons, I believe, as a head coach. He has had 10 or 8 seasons. I can't remember now. All the numbers are just floating around in my head. But he's had 3 quarterbacks going into week 1 on the active roster more often than not. So it does kind of feel like there's going to be an odd man out if he goes with the way he's always done things. Now, there have been cases, recent teams around the league. The Eagles, I believe at one point, had 4 quarterbacks last year. The Browns, we know, have cycled through a number of them and kept a lot on the active roster. And the Steelers and Mike McCarthy may have to go that route because they've got essentially 2 keys, Will Howard being a red shirt, basically, Drew Aller, and then Mason Rudolph has all of the experience. And I don't know that you want to go into your season with a 42, soon-to-be 43-year-old quarterback and 2 backups that have never taken a meaningful NFL snap or even a preseason snap, although I'm sure that that's going to change once we get to the preseason this year. But I think that training camp is going to inform a lot. I mean, on paper, the team has definitely invested less resources in Will Howard and just a 6th-round pick. So on paper, he should be the odd man out here. But Mike McCarthy spent the offseason hyping him up. And so that would feel a little awkward to go that route. But at the same time, you know, I don't know that optics need to be the reason that you make a decision. But yeah, I think that all along that's been the toughest question of what now? Great, Aaron Rodgers is coming back. How do you arrange the room behind him?
It's Brooke Pryor, Steelers reporter for ESPN. And the mention of optics dovetails nicely into what most interests me about this marriage. In a way, Rodgers and Pittsburgh, it's a perfect marriage given what last year was, where you have a significant faction of Steeler fans, it seems, that feels that last year the standard wasn't met. And you go 10-7, Rodgers has his best season in 5 years. Maybe some of it's non-football related, some of the controversies that surround Aaron Rodgers, some of the comments that are out there. Maybe some of it is him being the standard being so high for one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. But 24 touchdowns, 7 picks, 95 QB rating, and the team success, it seems definitionally that is a successful year, yet there are still the conspiracies out there that, oh, they would have fired Mike Tomlin if he didn't step away. And there's even the lack of expectations this year. So maybe in a way, that high standard that leads to perception maybe not meeting reality of what last year was being a benefit, given Pittsburgh has the 3rd best odds to win the AFC North. And now you look at the odds for them to win 9 games. The over-under is 8.5. If they go 8-9, as you know, that'd be the first losing season they've had in decades, close to a quarter century. Mm-hmm. So what do you make of the perceptions that surround Pittsburgh and Aaron Rodgers going into 26?
Yeah, you know, I think that there's a lot of Steelers fans who are frustrated that he basically did the exact same thing he did a year ago, drawing out a decision. I think they felt like the organization was kind of hamstrung by that, but I think the organization would tell you that they believed all along that Aaron Rodgers was going to come, and so they made their roster decisions, their draft, their free agency, all with the expectation that Rodgers was going to come, and it hasn't been a massive distraction. But I do think that Pittsburgh is a city and a fan base that is very blue-collar, hardworking, you know, shut up and get to work kind of a thing. Like, let your actions do the talking. We don't want a diva or somebody that is, you know, drawing things out, being a distraction, doing all these things off the field. And I think that if he comes out and he plays well, which he did in stretches last year, then all the belly aching for Steelers fans is going to be over. And I also think that he was the reason that they lost some games. There were, I think of the Chargers Sunday night game. I think of the playoff game that they lost to the Texans. That a lot of that, I think, falls on his shoulders with just really subpar quarterback play where he looked like a 42-year-old quarterback. But I think that there were other points last season where a lot of that was on the defense that didn't come through, that the offense actually held up and was serviceable and was playing at least playoff caliber football. They were not the reason, and the defense just, at least through the first half of the season, could not get a stop. And so I think that a lot of the success of this season is going to rest on Patrick Graham and the defensive side of the ball. And then also you have to hope that adding Michael Pittman Jr. and Jeremy Bernard elevate the offense because that was exposed as a major weakness. I mean, we knew all season long that they didn't have enough wide receiver depth, and then DK Metcalf gets suspended, and it becomes the Kenneth Gainwell show out of necessity. And I think that also really handcuffed the offense, and Aaron Rodgers late in it, when they're adding Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Adam Thielen and just guys just trying to have a patchwork wide receiver core just to get this offense off the ground. But I do think that, the internal expectation of this team is to compete for a Super Bowl. I mean, that's what Art Rooney II said when they hired Mike McCarthy, and when he also gave his press conference after Mike Tomlin walked away, that I don't know why you would waste a year of your life not trying to contend. He wants to be a team in contention, even if Vegas doesn't think that's the case. They will measure this season based on playoff success, no matter what else happens. They have to go far in the playoffs for them to feel like this season and Aaron Rodgers coming back and all these things are moving this organization in the right direction. So while one long national nightmare is over with Aaron Rodgers officially coming back, I think that, the next big question is looming, and this is going to be a recurring theme and plot season is how does Aaron Rodgers and the defense and all of these pieces either keep the Steelers on the track that they were on last year or at least elevate it and not backslide into not contending.
On the way out, any Bill Belichick, North Carolina thoughts you want to get off your chest about your alma mater here on the way out? Anything you want to vent about?
The great news for me is that we are still months away from college football and Bill Belichick having to be in the forefront of my mind. So I am just going to, compartmentalize him, put him in a bucket and think about him in September. And that's how I have good mental health. That's called balance.
Week zero, August, actually, Brooke Pryor going to Ireland facing TCU because it went so well last time in Chapel Hill.
Well, if it happens in Ireland, it doesn't count. If it doesn't happen on U.S. soil, it doesn't count.
That's a good rule of thumb. Brooke Pryor, thank you. I know you're busy. Thank you for making the time. It's good to hear your voice, and I hope we can catch up sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
There she goes. ESPN's Brooke Pryor covers the Pittsburgh Steelers. Appreciate her visit. Make sure you follow. We've had a tremendous lineup of guests this week that you can find on our Westwood One Sports Night YouTube page. You can find the interview we had with the NFL's VP of Broadcasting, Ani Bose. That was outstanding, breaking down the schedule that dropped on Thursday. Yes, Will. This is
important,
music.
Okay? Things
I don't
are
even
getting
think,
a
does
little
Westwood One, does Westwood One even have a golf song, a golf theme? I know we do the golf updates. Just anyway,
I don't know.
Do your thing.
This is really important because things are continuing to get a little bunched up at the top of the leaderboard here. So, Aaron Rye now has a 2-stroke lead at the top. He's 7 under par.
2 gloves.
However,
2 gloves.
He is rocking 2 gloves. Very interesting choice.
Always.
However, Rory McIlroy just got through 14. He bogeyed a little while ago, but then he responded with a birdie on 14. So now he's just 3 shots off of the lead. John Rahm, he's 2 off the lead at 5 under. So is Justin Thomas, but he's done for the day. So it's getting interesting. I don't buy what you're selling, by the way, in terms of the slog fest. It's not interesting. I don't want to see, these low scores. This is terrific. This is terrific.
I want low scores.
It's tight. Yeah, this is tight. This is competition. I think it's great.
It's close, sure, but that's because
it's entertaining.
Nobody can score.
Yeah.
You sound like the guy who's making the argument for give me 6-3 NFL. I don't know. I kind of would prefer 24-20. I don't think it is. I like seeing good golf shots rewarded, and we're not seeing a lot of that. And I think as a result, I mean, you tell me, the 2 golf tournaments we've had in the last, 2 years of majors, the ones that you had a nobody, air quotes, win the tournament. The 2 with low scores, J.J. Spahn winning at 1 under par last year, and what we're watching right now, probably with Aaron Rai, who's up 2 shots.
You don't like to see a nobody get their first big win? You don't like that? You don't like to
fine,
see that?
But are you telling me it's a coincidence? Are you telling me it's a coincidence that it's these gross slogs that these guys win it in, not the ones where it's typical and you have the course playing well enough that great golf shots are rewarded, and you see the stars like Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy winning these tournaments? Again, if Aaron Rai went nuts for 15 under par to win a tournament, or 14, I'm saying great for Aaron Rai. That's awesome. But it's not as impressive, I guess, when it's a 7 under par and you're having to 2-putt every other hole. This is an unpopular take. I understand it.
Yes, it is.
But that's how I feel. Thank you.
Yeah.
YouTube, you can find the conversation we had with Carolina Hurricanes forward Nick Ehlers. As mentioned, the NFL VP of Broadcasting, Ani Bose, joined us. Kevin Harlan joined us this week. Mike Golick joined us. The AEW champ Tekla dropped by. Brooke Pryor of ESPN. A great lineup of guests that we've had on the show this week. YouTube, go there. You can find a lot of those conversations on Westwood One Sports Night. It's how you can watch the show live, actually, in addition to listening to it. However, and wherever you listen or watch, appreciate you consuming the program. Coming up, a prediction for Game 7 of Cavs-Pistons. Well, maybe. Keep it here on the Josh Graham Show.
The NFL season opens across the globe. Rams, Niners in Australia. Then a Super Bowl rematch. Seahawks and Patriots. Catch every primetime, international, and holiday game on the Westwood One Sports app. From your home for the NFL, the playoffs, and Super Bowl 61. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
All the little kids growing up on the skids are going Cleveland rocks, Cleveland rocks. Jumping Gene is moving James Dean is going Cleveland rocks.
Cleveland, Detroit. Art Martinez leaving little to imagination who he might be rooting for later tonight. It's a big day in the NBA. Game 7, yes, between those two. SGA, he wins his second MVP, according to Shams Charania of ESPN. Then you have Game 7 tonight at 8 o'clock, Prime Video. Now, in terms of who wins the game, there is wisdom in saying these three words that you never really hear sports talk hosts with the platforms such as this say. I don't know. Usually in the handbook, it's pick a side. Doesn't matter what side. And just argue it to the death and don't relent and be as bold and sensational as possible. Can't do that here. Gonna try my best to build some credibility and telling you I don't know. Because you can't trust either the Pistons or the Cavs in Game 7. It's impossible to know what we're going to see tonight. Just look at what's happened in this series. Detroit should have wrapped it up. They're the 1 seed after all. They went up 2-0 in the series. But then you lose 3 in a row, including on your home court, a 9-point collapse in the final 3 minutes of Game 5. And don't get us started with Cleveland, the choking Cavs. They haven't been any better. They gave away 2 games in Toronto last series, including one game against the Raps where Brandon Ingram didn't play. They get drilled on their home court in Game 6. Oh, they're a different team at home. Didn't show. Lost it by 21. Because of these teams, how they've been exposed in these playoffs, it almost doesn't matter who wins this game. The Knicks, they clinched the East probably with the win over the Sixers. The sweep was finished off a week ago today. So by the time the Eastern Conference Finals begins, they will have chilled for 9 days. But to go a step further, the Eastern champ will be gigantic underdogs against either OKC or San Antonio in the finals. Now, to be clear, if you get to the NBA finals, that is substantial. The Eastern Conference finals, not so much. See, if you're Detroit and you haven't been to the finals in 21 years, you're happy with that. The Knicks haven't been this century. But again, in terms of predicting a winner tonight, that seems like a fool's errand. But if you're putting a gun to my head, first I'd say this is a weird issue to threaten life or death for. Like an alleyway, like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Guy comes up to you, Will, and says, hey, I'm gonna pull the trigger unless you tell me what you think's gonna happen tonight. Pistons versus the Cavs. I'd say, okay. Pistons. Fine. Don't do it. Because Cleveland has James Harden and Donovan Mitchell. Their postseason resumes, not great. James Harden, probably the worst MVP in a Game 7 situation. 8 turnovers for the Beard in Game 6. Donovan Mitchell held under 20 points, 6 of 20 from the field. There has to be some value in being at home. There has to be some respect given to the fact that you're a number 1 seed. Maybe you don't lose back-to-back home games in the playoffs. So, yeah, we'll lean on the Detroit Pistons being the pick if we have to hand out a winner. In college football, if you haven't been following, the perception right now within the sport is that the sport's going to expand to a 2014 playoff. The 2014 playoff, that is all the rage right now. And the perceptions, here's digging into this. It seems that the arguments that are being made for the college football playoff, what's driving things, are perceptions that aren't real. What's fueling these expansion talks? Perceptions that aren't real. So to attack some of these arguments, the most popular argument that you see in favor of college football playoff expansion, what we've been hearing all spring, well, Josh, 9% of FBS teams participate in the playoff. That's not enough. You look at pro sports, and you'll hear commissioners actually say this with a straight face. Well, there's 40% of the NFL that makes the playoffs. You have more than half the NBA that makes it. 9%, that's all you get in college football. It's not good enough. Here was ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips even saying that if you don't expand, schools, they might not invest anymore.
If you're going to ask presidents and chancellors and boards to continue to invest in their football programs, it's really important that they have hope, that they have an opportunity at the beginning of the season to get into the playoff. And I think it can also lead to better non-conference scheduling, that you can afford a loss or 2, or maybe even 3.
That's what we want. 3 lost teams getting into the college football playoff. That would make things better, but he's saying so many schools spin now, and it's not worth it if only 12 teams get in. Here's the problem with the argument that he just made. 9%, that's it, of FBS schools participate each year. Nearly half of that field of 130 in FBS are mid-major conference schools. So comparing, let's say, Akron out of the MAC or my alma mater, East Carolina, and the percentages to the NFL, to lesser NFL teams like the Jets or the Browns, or lesser NBA teams like the Washington Wizards, or it's just not a one-for-one comparison. The gap between the top and the bottom of professional sports leagues much smaller than what you get in college sports. So it's a disingenuous, borderline absurd argument to make. The real debate coming off of last year, the real debate is ultimately whether or not deserving national title teams are being left out of the 12-team format. Which brings us to Notre Dame last year. The Irish is being held up as a primary argument tool by expansion supporters. And here's the argument in a nutshell. They were the first team left out in favor of Miami. We saw how close the Miami-Notre Dame game was. We saw where the Canes ended up in the national title game. Thus, Notre Dame, every bit as good to be in the college football playoff. They could have made some noise in the college football playoff. Here was Jim Phillips at ACC meetings again in Amelia Island making this case.
When you're leaving national championship contending teams and university schools out of the playoff, you don't have the right number. We lived through it. We suffered through it with Florida State when the field was 4. And I know other schools have suffered for it. And I've said this, very directly. Notre Dame was a CFP worthy team this year. They just were.
Yeah. Completely lost me. Undid his argument when he lumped in 2023 Florida State's exclusion into this. See, that was a crime that Florida State went unbeaten in a power conference and was left out of the playoff in favor of an Alabama team that didn't even play in its conference championship and lost a game at home that year. Oh, they did it because Jordan Travis was hurt, you see. Okay. Florida State was deserving. You left a deserving team out. Notre Dame had 2 losses. No conference championship game, obviously, playing without a conference. The 12-team format was brought in to fix what FSU's exclusion exposed. Thus, they aren't really relevant, Florida State isn't, to a 24-team debate. Does anybody believe in a 20-team or a 12-team format that an unbeaten power conference champ's going to be left out? Of course not. They're in. That's why you expanded the 12 in the first place. Now, what Jim Phillips would probably say if he were sitting here in response is, well, no, Notre Dame's exclusion tells you the same thing in a 12-team field what Florida State being excluded in a 4-team field told us. But that isn't true. In fact, the opposite is true. Notre Dame last year didn't expose the 12-team format. They validated it. They validated it as being the right number. Because there were concerns in college football when 12 was announced that there aren't 12 teams that can win the national championship. There aren't 12 teams that are deserving of being in the playoff. They were unquestionably talented enough to be part of that mix. Nobody's denying that with Notre Dame. The problem is they just weren't deserving enough because they weren't in a conference. They don't have the 13-game sample. They don't have the chance at the automatic bid. And they scheduled 2 out-of-conference games that mattered a lot, and they lost both of those games. You lost them. It's like the year before. Alabama, talented enough to be belonging in the 12-team playoff, but you had 3 losses. You weren't deserving enough. See, this is the difference between how conference commissioners do think versus how they should think. And what Jim Phillips thinks, because we just saw him in support of expanding the NCAA tournament to 76 teams, there are teams that are talented enough to win games in the tournament, thus we need to have the tournament expanded. There are more than 72 that can make noise, so we need to do it. Are there more than 72 that are deserving, though? Or are more than 68, pardon? Are there more? Are you leaving out national championship winners? Notice that Jim Phillips said playoff caliber team, not national championship caliber team. There's a difference between those two things. And I don't think you're leaving out in a 68-team field in college basketball a national champion. And I don't think in a 12-team field you're leaving out a national champion in college football. So ultimately, expanding to 24 games, it's not the right move for that reason. And Notre Dame, it actually validated the playoff that they were left out. And it makes making the college football playoff an achievement. And that's what it should be. It should be an achievement to make the NCAA basketball tournament. It should be an achievement to make the CFP. And expanding to 24, coaches think it's going to give them more job security. It isn't. It isn't. It's just going to water down your postseason and water down your regular season, which is what makes the sport special and different from the NFL. Oh, the Super Bowl is the greatest thing in the NFL. The playoffs are the greatest thing in other sports. Saturdays in the fall. Ohio State, Michigan on campus is what makes it great, not Penn State, Georgia, in a sterilized neutral site. Perhaps the most popular segment of this show is Unusual Questions, which invites you to ask us anything. And that's next on The Josh Graham Show.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
It is the Josh Graham Show. Rock on. If we're going to go Metallica, I prefer Search and Destroy, like a 90s offensive lineman. That would have been a good unusual question, Will. Yesterday we were talking with Nick Ehlers of the Carolina Hurricanes, and he was talking about how he and his line mate, Jordan Martinook, love Nickelback. And it seems hockey players, current hockey players over 30, love Nickelback. And you were talking about baseball players being in the country. Would be a good unusual question to ask. Like, what music stereotypically athlete groups prefer? Certain athletes, are there certain genres that tailor itself better to some position group or some athlete? It's pretty good. This is an Ask Anything type of a segment. It's called Unusual Questions. Will Dalton still hasn't done his job despite shaming. And to cover it up, he interrupts
This is
me
my
to
job.
Yeah.
This is my job right here. Aaron Rye. Here's what I want to know.
Hold one second. 310-840-4910. If you have a question for us in Unusual Questions, you can ask us anything for this segment and this segment only. It can be sports related, but most times it's fun when it's not. Just interrupt me with the music one more time because
Thank you. It's golf time. Here's what I want to know. Is Jim Nantz, like, what's going to be the final call for Aaron Rye? Like, is two gloves going to be referenced in some way? Like, is he going to find a way to weave that into the final call there?
Rye captures the PGA Championship. It's a catcher in the rye. I don't know.
Anyway, Aaron Rye still leading the way. Matty Schmid still right there, though.
Not bad for a rye guy.
I like that. I saw earlier that that there was a fan yelling when Rory McIlroy hit a shot, and Rory yelled to shut the bleep up, and then apparently security removed the person.
I believe I can rye. Aaron Rye, your PGA Championship. That might be your unusual question. What is Jim Nantz's call if Aaron Rye wins the PGA? That's probably going to be better than whatever you come up with, knowing you. 310-840-4910. You're generally bad at finding good questions. You're bad at that.
I actually think I got a pretty good one.
Okay. Are you going to make up for the fact that you haven't gotten the imaging for this despite us shaming you for a month?
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Okay.
I got a good question here, genuinely.
These might be some prompts that if people need nudging, 310-840-4910. What is a question that you have?
So, earlier this week, I saw that Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Con Knipple They sat down for a podcast. And it got me thinking, because, like, this is that's an interesting collab. NASCAR, NBA. If you could have two people, who is your dream podcast collab? Where it's like, it could be a crossover between a couple of things, or just, who's your dream podcast? Who would you like to see sit down for a pod that would just be must watch? I think it's a good question. Because there's good answers to this.
If you're guaranteed honesty, I'd say Tom Cruise or Leo DiCaprio or Jack Nicholson while we still have him. Like, those people don't do much at all. And then if I'm doing the interview, it's Jordan. It's Michael. Taylor Swift doesn't do a lot. So I'd narrow it down to those five. Leo, Jack, Cruise, Michael Jordan, Taylor Swift. Those five.
I'd like to see Jordan Hudson and Pablo Torre sit down for a pod.
Oh, the Bill Belichick's girlfriend, Jordan Hudson?
Yeah. I think that'd be interesting. She has yet to do an interview yet, still.
You are getting this, Aaron Rye. It's a Seinfeld reference.
Yeah, fire it up!
Aaron writes in, rye bread with a dill dip is the best. Aaron Rye earns that bread with a PGA championship win. I don't know what the bread that you earn with the PGA championship, but I imagine it's quite a bit. Earning that bread. Aaron Rye. I can do this all day. This could just be the last hour. He might not win, though. He's only up a shot on Matty Schmid, because that's what you want. This is what entertains you. Aaron Rye, one shot better than Matty Schmid.
It does.
7 under par, winning the tournament.
It does entertain
That's what
me.
you want. I'm glad. Glad that's
John
enthralling
Rahm.
to you. This is a flop. It's a giant flop. The PGA Championship. Let's go to Jim in Seattle. Speaking of Jim Nance, I don't know if this is see Jim's in Pennsylvania. Jim! That's a Romo. That's a Jim Nance impression. The guy sitting next to Jim Nance impression. Jim! Do you have what is your question you have for us here?
Yes, the two-part question about the tip culture phenomenon that's sweeping the country. One is, if you go to a bakery and all you're doing is getting a donut, but on the counter there's a tip jar, or better yet, a kiosk wanting you to tip 18%, are you leaving a tip if all you're doing is getting a donut?
Great question. I am not, Jim, and I'll tell you why. They've beaten it out of me. I used to be a compassionate person that would give some change or some money to a homeless person, but now there are too many around that I don't do it anymore to anybody because too many people are asking. And the same logic is true on the tip front, where everywhere I go, you're going to turn around that screen as if it's going to make me feel shame. Oh, give a 20% tip? No, just no. Yeah. If you're asking me for a tip, you're not getting one. I'll give you a tip if you don't ask and you get a reason. And there's a reason for me to tip you. Like what, you're cutting my hair or you're waiting the table. Like, I will tip you then, but I am not, I have no problem. It's been conditioned out of me where I do not feel shame anymore for not giving money to the homeless guy on the corner or pressing no tip on the screen, asking me for a tip, picking up a coffee or a donut. And sometimes it's bad. It makes you have to pick multiple options. You have to do custom tip in order to say no. That actually makes me angry enough that I don't even feel bad at all for saying no tip. If you're going to make me press multiple buttons, I hate you even more.
What if you do an all-you-could-eat buffet, and the only thing the waitress is doing for you at a buffet is giving you your beverage? Are you tipping at a buffet?
Good question. It depends how many people are at the table that she's providing drinks to. Might be one of those where it's like, all right, I'll throw a couple bucks down. But if it's just me, no. Jim, thanks for the question. How would you answer this, Will?
No, I mean, I'm usually not tipping. I'm not putting anything in the tip jar like that. By the way, with Starbucks or coffee joints in general, that it's gotten to the point now where literally the worker there at the cashier, the barista, they already know you're going to click no, so they just go, hey, it's going to ask you a question real quick. They don't even...
I know what the question is.
They just want you to get it over with, just hit no. They don't expect you to do it. They already know you're not going to do it. It's going to ask you something.
You may hate me, but there ain't no lie. Rye.
He's still doing it. He's still doing We're going to do this, and he's not going to win. That's what's going to happen here. Although he does lead by 2 now.
Yeah, he's at 8 under par over Matty Schmid. Very entertaining stuff. 310-840-4910. Let's go to Zach, who's in Knoxville. Zach, what's your unusual question?
All right, so I'm a chef based out of Knoxville, and I do food demonstrations at the local farmers market every week. I did egg salad and potato salad this past Saturday, and I got flamed for having mustard in both egg and potato salad. So I need to know, you put mustard in it or not?
How about just no altogether to potato salad?
Oh, wrong answer.
Will Dalton?
I don't do potatoes. I've never had potato salad. I don't have a desire to eat
You've
potato
never
salad.
had potato salad? You live in the South.
I have no desire to eat it. None.
Oh, so this
potatoes?
is like an out.
I like
you like
potatoes.
potatoes is a great follow up. Excellent.
I do.
follow-up.
I like hash browns. I do. I've never had a desire to eat potato salad. I haven't looked at it. And just been like, you know what? I just don't want it.
I'm not a potato
I'd
salad
rather
guy, but
not.
at least try it.
Yeah, I just
Agreed.
haven't felt the need to. Haven't felt the desire to.
This isn't how you expected. To quote the other guys, this isn't how you pictured this conversation going, was it, Zach?
I was going to get a resounding yes or no. And especially, I didn't know he was from the South. We're right here in Knoxville, and I thought that was a sure thing, but never mind.
I'm only a couple hours down the road, man. So I've at least tried it, and I understand it's not a popular sentiment. Like I don't feel shame in not tipping. I do feel shame in I wish I did like potato salad, and I do like mustard. So I mean, if I have to answer, I'd say yes, mustard and potato salad, fine. But Zach, appreciate the call from Knoxville, Rocky Top, all that. I'm just busy coming up with more Jim Nantz, Aaron Rye, because we might need it. We might need it. Big boys don't rye. Aaron Rye, your PGA champion. Give me a... No, we're not doing that. 310-840-4910. Caught myself. Let's go to Mr. Realistic. Not to be confused with Mr. Positive. Mr. Realistic in Massachusetts. What do you have? Unusual questions.
Oh, on the buffet question, I always tip more because I'm eating a lot more, which means I'm spilling more. They're picking up more plates. They have the people in the back have to do more dishes because I take all you can eat as a personal challenge. When my family comes to a buffet, they say, "Oh no, we're closed," and we say, "You got to let us in." We see people in there, and they say, "There goes all our profit for this month," and then they put us in the corner away from normal people. But if you're spilling more, they're picking up more plates, you should tip even more than a regular restaurant. That's my theory on that. And for Rye, I'm thinking Rye, Captain Rye, above this chip shot tonight.
Oh, my God.
There we go.
You've won over
good
Art.
show.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Realistic. I appreciate that. Aaron writes in. Aaron has arrived on the PGA Tour. No? Think we're starting to get progressively better. Which James Bond one you think? Which James Bond one you think is better? Live and Let Rye, Aaron Rye, your PGA champion, or Rye Another Day, today, Aaron Rye, PGA champ.
I don't know. I don't really love.
You probably
any of
haven't
those.
seen any of those. Yeah, doesn't sound like it.
I've only seen the Daniel Craig Bonds.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's a crazy thing. Crazy absurd. 310-840-4910. Let's do one more. Rob's in San Diego. Rob, you're on the Josh Graham Show, Westwood One Sports. Unusual question?
Yes, sir. I had a question for the potato salad guy. The guy that never tried potato salad.
Will Dalton. Yeah, what is it?
Will Dalton. Will Dalton. I'm so sorry. Will Dalton. Yes, sir. First time caller. Yes, sir. You guys are great.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yes.
How about mac salad? How do you feel about mac salad?
Haven't had that either.
Macaroni salad?
I haven't had macaroni salad either. I've had chicken salad. I like chicken
Is
salad.
there a reason? Like, is it just like, it's not warm, so you don't want to eat it? Like, is there? Is
You know
it
what I think it
texture?
is?
What's the problem?
You know what I think it is? When I was a kid, I was a bit of a picky eater. Like, I didn't really start to eat vegetables very seriously until I was in college. Like, I didn't eat broccoli for the first time until, like, senior year of college.
So you're
And I ate
following the Al Michaels playbook, where he's pushing, he's 81 and has never had a vegetable and is proud of it.
And he's very proud of it. So I would, but I'll tell you this, I'd rather eat macaroni salad than potato salad.
I was going to suggest it.
Appreciate
I could see macaroni salad being good. I like that. But I'm good on the potato salad. I don't need it. Don't have desire to eat it.
Appreciate the call. Bye-bye, Miss American Rye.
This is getting ridiculous.
I actually think he's English, so I don't think that's going to be the call. We're just trying to help out our guy, Jim. That's all we're trying to do here. This segment, sponsored by your friends at Progressive Commercial Insurance. They protect small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com. Up next, reaction to Aaron Rodgers' return to Pittsburgh and why these two entities are perfect for each other. This is the Josh Graham Show.
Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker is heading back to Seattle, now wearing Chiefs red. Week 7, Sunday night. You can hear it on Westwood One Sports. The schedule is out, and we're breaking down the biggest matchups. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
It seems Aaron Rye has it in the bag. He just hit a monster birdie putt on 17. He's at 9 under. He's 4 shots better than the rest of the field. Make it 3 because John Rahm on 17 or on 16 just birdied. So he has a 3-shot advantage. Back 9. Major championship. Feel free to send us in some of your suggestions. Jim Nance's final call, what it's going to be. 310-840-4910 if you want in. West Coast writing in. It's the Rye of the Tiger. Aaron Rye, PGA champion. 310-840-4910. Here's how that putt sounded, courtesy of our friends at Westwood One Sports, our teammates, and Sirius XM.
Where Aaron Rye has just hit a beautiful birdie putt on 17 and he drains it. From 50 feet, Aaron Rye is unstoppable at Aronimink. He is 9 under par.
Aaron Rye from long range. That's his superpower. 50-foot putts. Listen to this.
How about it? Long birdie putt hit. Aaron Rye is going to be okay. Not to be a hater, but this PGA Championship has been a flop. Aaron Rye separating and hitting that long putt, that's all good and well, but it's putting icing on a cake you don't want to eat from an entertainment perspective. It's a lot like the U.S. Open from a year ago where J.J. Spaun, we remember, he hit this putt to win the U.S. Open, but it's at 1 under par. The reality is we want big names at the top of the leaderboard, not Aaron Rye trying to hold off Matty Schmid. And that almost seems fitting because this major championship has largely been mid, as the kids say. Through 2 rounds, the leader's at 4 under par. Through 3 rounds, not much better. 5 under par is the leader? That isn't what you want a major championship to be. You don't want the Wanamaker Trophy to be handed out that way. But that's what you got. And it's not a coincidence that when you look at the major championships the last few years, it's not that you want birdie fest. You don't want 19, 20 under par winning a major, but there's some middle ground between that and what this weekend was and what that U.S. Open, what the U.S. Open has been in recent years, has become. There's some middle ground there. And it's not a coincidence that when it's normal conditions where great golf shots are rewarded, you have the stars at the top and the stars often winning the thing, which isn't a bad thing. Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy and Xander Schauffele. Like those are the guys that you want at the top of the leaderboard and winning this tournament. So with respect to Aaron Rye, who I've known about for a while, I remember following him in between the ropes at the Wyndham Championship that he won in Greensboro, North Carolina a few years ago. With respect, he did well at a Don Ross course then, did well at a Don Ross course this weekend. It's not what you want from your major championship. And if that's a hot take, sorry. 310-840-4910. Let's go to Robert, who's in Columbia, South Carolina, who apparently has the final call. So let me set the stage, Robert. All I want from you is the call. No more pleasantries. Let me set the stage. Aaron Rye is standing over 18 to wrap up the Wanamaker Trophy, and the putt is through.
Aaron Rye, toast of the golf world, holds up the Wanamaker's Trophy.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. The Jim Nance impression. We need more Jim Nance calls. 310-840-4910. You can write them in as well. Westwood One Sports Night is where you can watch us in addition to listening to us, however and wherever you consume the show. We greatly appreciate that. Are you going to come up with any of these, Will, or are you just going to sit back and giggle at the ones that you like?
I'm going to sit back and giggle. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm going to eat my popcorn. That's what I'm going to do. My figurative popcorn, not potato salad. Not going to eat any of that. Just some popcorn. Or maybe I'll just eat some rye bread. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Hello, good rye. Very good rye. PGA champion. Now, just all in to see whether or not he's going to win the golf tournament. Or now just all in, well, he's going to win the golf tournament, whether or not Jim Nance is going to deliver the goods. That's what we need to see. Let's go to Nate in Ohio. The callers need to bring it. Nate, Jim Nance is ready for the moment. The putt goes through and
Jim Nance's impersonation of Matthew McConaughey. All right, all right, all right.
Oh, my God. That's pretty good. I love it. Thanks, Nate. All right, all right, all right. Aaron Rye, your PGA champion.
All right, for the PGA champ.
What does that mean?
All rise, get it? Yeah, play on words.
Who says, a judge? Okay.
Yes.
Leave it to a Yankee fan to make an Aaron
That's
Judge.
right. All right, for the champ.
It's pretty bad.
Ask me to contribute. Get out of here with that.
It's the worst one we've heard yet. Unbelievable. Makes me not even want to play this game anymore. When you play it. Unbelievable. It's the Good Rye Kid! Now I'm not even feeling the energy. 310-840-4910. Do you know, Art, would it mean anything to you if I made a bye-bye birdie reference and said, Rye birdie, your champion, PGA championship? Or is that too ancient?
What's that from?
I just told you it's a movie called Bye Bye Birdie in the 60s.
Oh, the movie's called Bye Bye Birdie.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you know me in movies.
No, it's you before you were born. Like,
it's not that's not that bad. I like history. I like history quite a lot, actually. More than you would realize.
Getting to the news of the day. The Pittsburgh Steelers have come to an agreement with Aaron Rodgers. The Steelers, this seems like a match made in heaven. Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because they're both beneficiaries and victims of their reputation and brand. Like, they both kind of deal with the same stuff. So it's good that they are paired together. You have these lofty expectations that are associated with them. And because of those lofty expectations, last year somehow was viewed as an unsuccessful season. Pittsburgh, 10-7 last season, won the AFC North. Yet, I mean, almost definitionally, that is what success looks like in the NFL. But because the Ravens missed a kick in order to win the division and make the playoffs, and the Steelers lost an uninspiring home playoff game, you got many people, heck, some of the conspiracy folks, namely in Pittsburgh, saying, hey, they didn't actually let Mike Tomlin walk away. They fired Mike Tomlin. He didn't have a choice. Which isn't true, because, again, the Steelers feel as if they are meeting the standard. But the expectations are so lofty because they haven't had a losing season in close to a quarter century. And that's not going to help Mike McCarthy in terms of expectations out of the gate. But at least Pittsburgh doesn't fire coaches, so there's job security with that. It's almost perfect, though, that you have Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh because he's a victim of the same thing. Rodgers, you wouldn't know it by following the discourse, but Rodgers, he had his best season in 5 years last year. Best QB rating, 24 touchdowns, 7 picks, 66% completion percentage, over 3,300 yards, obvious team success. But he became one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He was one of the greatest quarterbacks. He is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He's a controversial figure as well. So nobody really not acknowledged that success. And it might be for non-football reasons that people ignore it when he plays well and that he constantly gets bashed. But he had a good year. And because largely the perception is that they weren't that great last year, the Steelers, here's where it becomes a benefit. They are kind of flying under the radar in 2026. They have the third best odds behind the Bengals and, of course, the Ravens to win the AFC North. because the bar's this low, at least they can maybe meet expectations or exceed them. The offense should be better. Obviously, he has the relationship with Mike McCarthy. Aaron does. They added Rico Dowdle. They added Michael Pittman. They added Bernard at receiver. Like, that's all really good stuff. And it doesn't seem that that's the way the Steelers are being perceived at the moment, and I don't think that that is a good thing. I don't. Will Dalton, Aaron Wright, they're doing the victory setup where they're following him around and he's kissing his wife and he's shaking hands. So, did we get the Nance call already? I need you to do some digging so we can figure out.
No, we didn't. We did not.
I think we did. I think we did because they're showing the shot of his name being etched into the trophy. So you might want to revisit that to see.
There was no call on the putt itself. I know that.
Well, what did he say?
The sound back off. He didn't say anything.
You telling me it's a nothing burger? That we're not going to have any Aaron Rye call from Jim Nance? Nothing. That's what you're saying? I mean, that'd be the greatest bummer ever. No Jim Nance call on a PGA champion?
Well, I mean, there are still players playing. John Rahm's still going.
Let's go to Kelly, who's in Raleigh. Kelly, 310-840-4910. What should Jim Nance should have done just a minute ago?
Well, if you're a Meet Joe Black fan, he should have said,
"Oh my God,
everything gonna be all right."
I wasn't ready for that. Meet Joe Black. It's great. Kelly, where in Raleigh are you at? Where are you at in Raleigh?
Off of Capitol in northeast Raleigh.
Yeah, well, that's where I grew up. I grew up in Youngsville, right off of Capitol, driving through Wake Forest. In Raleigh, I know Capitol Boulevard very well. So, Kelly, thanks for the call. Out your way. North of Raleigh. That's great. Will Dalton probably doesn't even know what Meet Joe Black is. Because, 90s things. That would have happened after you were born, though. Like Brad Pitt.
I know what it is. I haven't seen it.
Sir Anthony Hopkins. Joe Black is essentially, I guess we call it a romantic comedy. Yeah, more of a drama. But it doesn't matter. If we don't have a Nance call, that's horrific. I'd be very sad. Be bummed out. We're going to find out. What do we have in Put It to Bed, first and foremost, Will Dalton?
It is the latest and greatest way that you can get a DUI.
And we'll find out if Jim Nance actually, in fact, brought the goods next.
The two best teams, the two best players, the matchup we've waited for all season. Spurs, Thunder, Wemby versus SGA. Can San Antonio take down the defending champs? We break it all down on the road to the finals. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
We'll put this show to bed momentarily. 310-840-4910. Aaron Rye is going to win the 2026 PGA Championship, even though Alex Smalley's still on the course. So is Matty Schmid and John Rahm. But he's up 3 shots. It's not going to happen. So maybe Jim Nantz is saving his signature call for when it's official, because he did nothing on Rye's final putt. He's already in the clubhouse having shot 65 today. 310-840-4910. I'm pretty sure Jim Nantz has this show in his ear right now. So Jason in New Hampshire, you can maybe get word to Jim with what Aaron Rye call he should go with. So when it becomes official, Jim Nantz should say,
Rye, let it ride. Your 2026 Players Champion, Aaron Rye. BTO song.
I get it. Love it. That's really good. Jason in New Hampshire. Thanks for the suggestion. Thanks for listening. How about James in Florence, South Carolina? 310-840-4910. All right, Jim Nantz, what suggestion do you have for him? James, you with us from South Carolina? Hey, James.
I'm here.
Okay, so what suggestion do you have for James Nantz, Jim?
Here we go. Well, friends, a toast to Aaron Rye.
I like that. That might be the best one so far. Thank you, James. And he's out. Hangs up the phone. He's out. A toast to Aaron Rye. You gotta like that one, Will. That's toast to James. I think that's it. I think that's the one. A reference to some sort of bread. Probably better than Catcher in the Rye, where this started. But Aaron Rye's going to win this tournament. I don't know how we follow that. I don't know how Art Martinez, who's following me here on Westwood One Sports tonight, I lose track of our rotation that we have. I don't know how Wicket's going to be able to follow that. See, yesterday, Wicket just appeared and started talking to me yesterday. I liked it. It's good. I don't know how he's going to follow this. Wicket,
I have a suggestion.
You have Nantz suggestions? What do you got, Wicket?
You seem like a big fan of boy bands to me, Josh. So I figure he could sing Ain't No Lie, Rye, Rye, Rye when he wins the championship.
See, this is added from what I was thinking. I made a Rye, Rye, Rye reference, but ain't no lie, it's Rye, Rye.
Or he
PGA
could
champion.
Go full Don McLean. So bye.
No,
Congrats to
can't
no,
do it.
Okay, no, okay.
Can't do it because
Is Rye American?
Because he's English. Can't do it.
Well, I mean,
he's an Englishman.
They did say goodbye to America, so it kind of bye American Rye. No, it doesn't work. Okay.
He here's what I know about Aaron Rye. He's English. I followed him in between the ropes for a couple of days when he won a golf tournament a couple of years ago. He wears 2 gloves when he golfs.
Oh.
And they're black gloves too.
Okay.
And he also has covers on his irons, which there's a deeper meaning to that, why he does that too. So
Okay.
he's an interesting fella. Congrats to Aaron Rye, set to win it, but WD, he's listening in to actual Jim Nantz right now to see if we actually get something from him. But he said on Rye's final putt he didn't do it because it's not yet official yet. Since Smalley is on 18 right now, I don't think he's going to shoot 4 under par on the hole. Maybe
ace it from
maybe we get
390.
something. It'd be great if he did that. If he Happy Gilmore did. Don't think that that's going to happen. But Wicket, what can we expect on the show later tonight?
Oh, man, if you like football and you like basketball, this is going to be it. We are talking Broncos. We are talking Dolphins. We are talking Titans. We're going to lead off with Packers. We're going to preview Cavs-Pistons Game 7. And did anybody else waste 17 seconds last night? Actually, maybe wasted 3.5 hours for 17 seconds last night. That Ronda Rousey fight was trash.
Yeah, it was that. So we'll catch that with Wicket in just a bit. Thanks for making an appearance for a consecutive day, Wicket. We'll have to make this more of a traditional handoff on the show.
Ain't no lie, Rye.
Ain't no lie. Jim Nantz taking notes. I think he has this show in his ear as he's doing the show. Makes sense. Or as he's calling PGA Major Championship Golf. Okay, let's close the show by putting it to bed, why don't we? Will Dalton, what are we doing? You got to make sure your mic's not muted when you talk. This is the part where you hit the button and you start talking. So, I don't think we have Will Dalton. I don't know what your put it to bed story is. Thus, there's not a lot that I have in the controls right now. So rather than go to Will Dalton, I will instead look at tonight's Pistons-Cavaliers game. For all the life in the world, please, please, please don't bet on this basketball game. Because none of these teams
I don't know.
deserve your trust. Now we have
was
you, Will
talking
Dalton.
and it wasn't. Yeah,
Hello,
I
Will
was
Dalton.
talking and friend. Hello, how are you?
Hello, friend.
Much like me just then when I was trying to talk. That's what it sounds like with Jim Nantz right now because he's not saying anything. I'm
sure
trying
he's
to listen.
saying something. He's just not delivering
Very
the
little.
line that we want. Okay,
So
give me put it to
here's
bed
the
story.
Here's the story. So apparently you can in fact get a DUI while flying a drone under the influence. So this man in Florida, he's 34. His name's Richard. And just after midnight, reports say that he believed somebody was following him in a car because this person kept making certain stops, and I guess they were kind of following a similar pattern as he was on the road. So he gets out and he pulls out a drone and aggressively flies it like back and forth at this person's car that he believes is following him. So the police is called, and it turns out, in fact, he was intoxicated, the guy flying this drone, and he got arrested for a DUI because they say that a drone is technically a form of aircraft, and if you're flying it under the influence, you get a DUI.
I wish we had the sound of the guy who went viral on the internet. I think his name is Tony Johns, who is just this crazy person who was gloating about getting a DUI, and he looked into the camera saying, "Got a DUI, baby!"
I don't know that I've seen that.
Oh, you can find it. If you type in, "I got a DUI, baby," it would immediately pop up in your feed, and it's worth your time. But drones.
Yeah. I don't have a drone. Have you ever flown a drone?
Why would you have a drone?
Why not? It's cool. It's a drone.
Why not?
They're fun.
'Cause I can't think of anything I would do with a drone.
You go out and you fly it. That's
Oh
what
my
you do
gosh,
with a
okay.
drone. You go out and fly it. What do you mean? What would
I
you
understand.
do with it?
I've been on a futuristic movie kick lately on the nights there
Oh.
aren't any sports. So like I threw on Terminator 2. I threw on Minority Report last night. And what's crazy about Minority Report, that movie's 24 years old and the movie's set in 2054. Steven Spielberg got a lot of stuff right. Talking about like cars that aren't driven by anybody, like you see it with Waymos now. Some of the marketing stuff being tailored to you. Kind of nailed it in a lot of ways in 2002. Which, give him credit for. He is the genius, Steven Spielberg. Our
I'm
thanks
curious
goes out.
if we're going to get the call.
Wait, say that one more time?
I said I'm curious if we're going to get a call here. It's coming down
I don't
to
think
it.
we are. I don't think we are. Our thanks goes to Brooke Pryor, ESPN Steelers reporter, for joining us, and to Will Dalton producing this show, and Art Martinez taking your calls. Wickets on the way. My name's Josh Graham, and this has been on Westwood One Sports, The Josh Graham Show.
This is Westwood One Sports.